Hey everybody, since we're all staying at home, I thought I would talk to you about controllers. And this is going to be mostly from a PC gaming perspective, but you can sort of extrapolate these out to other consoles if you use them for that. I have a large collection of controllers here, and I like things about all of them, but I will tell you which ones I like the most, and I just want to talk to you about each one just a little bit. Hopefully, this video won't be too long, but maybe it will be helpful to you, and then you can understand why I use which ones I use, which ones I like, and all that kind of fun stuff. So, let me just go over what we have here in front of us. We've got the new Xbox One Bluetooth controller. This is the newer revision with official Bluetooth, so you can use this with literally any Bluetooth device. We can use the cheap little Sabrent Bluetooth adapters that are like $8 for PC. Pretty much a standard controller otherwise. We have a Sony DualShock 4. Really like this controller. Again, use it with Bluetooth. We have the PowerA enhanced Nintendo Switch controller. We have the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, official one. We have 8BitDO SN30 Pro, 8BitDO SN30 Pro Plus, 8BitDO Lite, and then the 8BitDO Zero. I think this is 02 wireless. So, Xbox controller. This is a very standard controller. Most of you should be familiar with it. I don't really prefer opposing analog sticks, but that is kind of my only issue with it. Aside from that, the buttons are just okay. They're not very tactile feeling, and other than that, like I really like the shoulder buttons. The triggers are pretty decent. It fits my hand. I have really large hands, so I like it for that reason. It does have an audio jack at the bottom, so if you're using it with the official Xbox adapter, you can use a headset through there. Or if you're using it on Xbox, obviously you can use a headset through there too. I've installed the HyperX Charge Play adapter. It's just a rechargeable battery with a pass-through, and it sits on like a little stand like this. Other than that, it's compatible with pretty much everything. So if you want to use it with Steam or literally anything that's X input, it's compatible with Mac OS and tvOS as well. So if you want to use it on your Apple TV, you can use it there. Aside from that, I mean, it's just not really much to say. It's got a pretty aggressive grip texture. The thumbsticks are very light. The D-pad is very direct and very short. Overall, good, and really not a whole lot to say about it. DualShock 4, on the other hand, where do I start with this thing? Again, audio jack on the bottom, but it is not officially X input. So with PC, you need to use DS4 for Windows to make it an X input controller. Even though I have larger hands and this is a smaller controller, I prefer the way that this controller fits in my hands. I play a lot of Dark Souls, so I really like having the two sticks here, and for me it just feels a little bit more natural. I really like a good D-pad, and I like the way that this D-pad feels and the way it's laid out. It's really easy to do diagonal with this D-pad, where it's not as easy on the Xbox controller, but you can just push two buttons and go diagonal. Other than that, again, I didn't talk about this on the Xbox One. I guess this one's not micro USB. I mean, it does have micro USB, but it won't charge through it. This one has micro USB, and it has a built-in rechargeable battery, so that part is nice. Yeah, I like the DualShock 4 a lot, which is something I'll segue into later with the 8-bit controllers. Nintendo Switch Pro controller. It feels like a dumb Xbox controller. Like it's a good controller, don't get me wrong, but look at the width of this controller up here and how short the grips are. It feels like a kid's controller, because I can't really get a good grip on it the same way I do on the Xbox. And these arm things are very, very narrow. Um, but other than that, it's the official Nintendo Switch controller. I do have a Switch. That is why I have it, and I do like it for that reason. The D-pad is a little mushy. You can do a diagonal on it, okay, but it's just very tall. Um, the sticks are actually very, very good because they return to center and uh, they don't like snap back or wobble when they return to center. A little bit more firm than the Xbox One analog sticks, and then just kind of standard feeling buttons. Again, the buttons are a little bit mushy. Not a lot of tactile feel to them. But my main issue with this is that, yeah, you can use it for PC with Bluetooth and all that. It is USB Type-C. My main issue is that it's just very expensive. I think they're like $80 MSRP, and if you get them on sale, it's probably 60 or maybe the lowest 50. So that's really the big issue. It's just so damn expensive. The PowerA enhanced wireless controller for Nintendo Switch. I'm actually not sure if this works for PC at all, but it's extremely, extremely light. Um, and that actually begs the question, do I have batteries in it? Yeah, I do. So I even have batteries in this, non-rechargeable. There's no plug or anything, so you can't use it in wired mode. But it is very light even with the batteries in, so that's kind of interesting. The sticks, you can almost hear it where the return to center, it kind of overshoots the return to center a little bit. Again, the D-pad is very tall, very, very firm. But it is essentially a knockoff Pro controller. But you can have these for like $35, and for that price, I think it's fine. The buttons are actually better than the Nintendo Switch Pro controllers. The the shoulder buttons and triggers, I would say, are okay. Really, the issue is like the plastic is much cheaper, so you do feel that a little bit in the buttons and the shoulder buttons. Other than that, not really a whole lot to say about this guy. It does have a couple programmable buttons down here. You can do macros or just button combinations or just reassign them. So that's kind of nice. This is the Spyro edition. I just managed to pick it up on sale. Trying to get my wife to play Spyro because she's never played Spyro before. So this will be hers for her Nintendo Switch. So yeah, that pretty much covers the like standard stuff. Next, I'm going to talk about the 8-bit stuff. And 8BitDO is a very interesting company. They make a lot of very cool products, mostly focused on retro gaming and like emulation and stuff like that. They actually make controller adapters for their controllers for classic systems. So if you want to use it on like a GameCube or a Genesis or something like that, you can use wireless and wired controllers on there and use modern controllers. So that's very, very cool. The one thing I'm missing out of their lineup, I'm missing I think it's their Genesis controller that I really, really want. It's only like $30. I really, really want it. It's missing analog sticks. It looks like a regular Genesis controller. So I will probably be picking up one of those in the future. But that said, 8BitDO, they're a really fantastic company. They make really, really good stuff. I really like their plastic quality and materials. I like that most of their controllers have USB Type-C. So that is a nice feature. We're going to talk about the SN30 Pro because I think it's just a good place to start. I actually have two of these. This is really forgive me if I get this wrong. This is like the NES Classic Edition where it's got the maroon buttons. This is the SNES Classic Edition where it's got the purple buttons. The plastics are actually different colors. It's kind of hard to tell. This one's more of like a reddish plastic and this one's more of a bluish. Again, if I switch those, forgive me, I was not really much of a classic console player. But these can work in pretty much anything. They work for Nintendo Switch, they work for PC, they work for Mac OS and tvOS. They work on Android as well. So they actually have 4 different modes, and it tells you on the back how to get into those different modes. There's like a little button combination to get into those. So this is a fully featured controller, even though it's very small. You have your dual analog sticks, your D-pad, start and select, which you can just map to whatever. You have your Nintendo Switch specific buttons down here, the home button. In Windows, this will actually open up the game bar, so that's kind of cool. And then this is your screenshot button. Very classic style buttons. They feel like SNES or NES buttons. I really like that, actually. And then you do have 4 shoulder buttons. I'm sorry if my camera is a little washed out. It's a little bright in here. But you do have 4 shoulder buttons. Now, something to note with the Nintendo Switch Pro controller and the PowerA Enhanced Wireless, this 8BitDO, these are buttons. The triggers are buttons. You can hear it. That is a button. Whereas this is an analog trigger. And same with the Xbox. So that is something to keep in mind. I would not recommend this for a racing game for that reason. So if you have your throttle and your brake, if you like to use it that way. Now, if you're playing like Gran Turismo 4 and the default throttle is up and then the default brake is down, then you're fine, obviously, because you're using the analog sticks. I actually prefer to use up and down for throttle and brake, but I know some people use the triggers, so just keep that in mind. Other than that, it's a very small controller. It's very lightweight. It is rechargeable. You can easily get a full day's use, like 12 hours out of it with USB-C. It has a very classic style D-pad. It is a tall D-pad, but the actuation button is very short. It's easy to do diagonal. And these have in my opinion, the best analog sticks of any controller out of the bunch here. And they're have a very high resistance, and the return to center is just immediate. The material is very good. There's a very, very fine knurling all around the outside. It does like to collect dirt a little bit. It's not as aggressive as the Xboxes, so if you're used to that, you might take a little bit getting used to. This one, you're going to have no handles, so it is a little bit harder to get used to and for some games, but it's just, overall, it's a very good and very comfortable, very easy to use controller. And the other reason I like the SN30 Pro is that you can have a phone clip on it. Now, the one thing that's interesting about the phone clip for this, here's my phone. So I got my phone. I've been using this with Rainway, and it's been working pretty good. It's not hard to hold. It's very easy to hold, in fact, but it's very top heavy. So I can hold it like this, but when I actually go to use the buttons, I kind of have to put pressure on the sides here with my hands to hold the controller level, so I can, because I don't really have anything to grip on to, otherwise it's just going to tilt. So if you have a lighter phone, it's not that big of a deal, but this is an iPhone XS, and it is probably 3 times the weight of the controller itself. So that said, this is the SN30 Pro Plus. It's essentially the same controller. You can see that there's like a similar outline, but there's two to three main differences. Obviously, it has the handles here. So when you use a phone mount, which they do make the phone mounts for these, when you use the phone mount, it's much easier to hold on to, and you just hold on to these handles. You don't have to put any pressure on the sides of the controller. And yeah, other than that, the entire top of the controller is the same, but the main difference is that you actually have real analog triggers now. So this controller is only about $10 more than the SN30 Pro. If you want that classic SN30 Pro style, get this one. If you want sort of the mashup between a modern controller and a classic one, and it has like a phone mount option and all of that, again, it's still USB-C, get the SN30 Pro Plus. So I actually have one that I just got today. Here's an SN30 Pro Plus. This was on sale at Best Buy. This is what it looks like in the packaging. The rest of the packaging is right there. If I can get this guy out of here. This was on sale for, I think, $40. And yeah, here's the classic SN30 Pro Plus. And it looks, man, it just looks even better than the black one. I bought the black one because I already have these two and these two different color schemes. And I was like, man, I'll probably get a black one. It looks a little bit more stealth. And this one on sale, and I was like, just maybe I should just buy one and just have it. But again, it's got the analog triggers, so you can use them for racing games. It just feels fantastic. I really, really like this. So you can use the rechargeable battery that's in here. It's nice that it's replaceable. The battery life on the Pro Plus is about twice as long as the Pro. Again, not replaceable battery, but they both charge over USB-C. But you can also use AA's with this. So I do like that part of it. Comes with a USB-C cable, and there's software on like how to remap things and all of that. So yeah, those are the main things I wanted to talk about with the SN30 Pro and the Pro Plus. Pretty straightforward with those guys. I really, really like them. By the way, they do make a wired version of the SN30 Pro, and I think that one's only like $25. So if you're not sure if you're like this with a wireless and you want to spend $40 or $50 on the Pro, look at the Pro wired, and it's literally the exact same controller, just a fixed wire. And you know, if you like that one, then you can get this one. But if you like that one, you're like, oh man, I want the analog sticks and that, then you can try this. So probably the move is to pick up a wired version of this. I don't think they make a Pro Plus wired, but yeah. So pick up a wired one of these for like $25 and then see how you like it. There's a couple other oddities that 8BitDO makes. I'm going to talk about the little guy first. This is the 8BitDO 02. The 02 is a micro USB charging integrated battery mini controller. I mean, you can use this guy with like one hand if you're playing like a card game or something. It's pretty wild. That's pretty much what it's good for. But the really interesting thing is that it actually works with the Nintendo Switch Lite as well. So you can use it Switch Lite, X input on PC with Steam or really anything like classic emulators if you want to use it in there. It's available in a bunch of different colors: yellow, blue, and like a salmon or a pink. Sorry, I can't even focus on this because it's just so tiny. But yeah, it's very interesting. There's a select and a start, and then you have your 4 buttons. You have like a little D-pad, and you actually have 2 shoulder buttons. But for a lot of games, that's all you need. And yeah, I have gigantic hands, but like sometimes you just want to throw it in your pocket. You connect it to your phone, and you know, put your phone up on like a little tablet stand or something. You can just use it. It's handy to have like a little controller, and they're only like $15 or something like that. They're very, 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 very cheap, very, very affordable. So I actually think this has a good purpose, and I think that if you bought this, you'd probably like it a lot more than you would think. Now, on the other hand, there's the 8BitDO Lite, and then this thing is undeniably a better value than the 02. Again, it's wireless. It works with Nintendo Switch Lite PC, and you can switch it. There's an S and an X there. I don't know if you can see right where my thumb is, but you can switch from Switch or X input mode. It's a fully featured Nintendo Switch controller, so you have your minus, your plus, your home button, the screenshot button, but you might notice that there's no analog sticks, and that's okay. You have a D-pad down here with just like the arrow buttons like the Switch does, but you have D-pads up here, and these are in place of analog sticks. So for a lot of games, you can use these if it doesn't require like precise movement. If you're doing platformers, I really, really like playing platformers on this thing. And then also you have all 4 shoulder buttons. You have L1, L2, R2, and R1 up here, and they're very easily accessible. So you can kind of use your middle part of your finger here, and then the end of your finger here. I've gotten used to using this quite a bit, and I really, really like it. No replaceable battery, but it does have USB Type-C, which is kind of odd because this guy doesn't have Type-C down here. But yeah, again, comes in a bunch of different colors, like the turquoise, yellow, and like the pink color. I don't know when I would really prefer this over. I mean, like if you're playing Mario or something like that, I'd probably use this. It's a good size. It's a good shape. It's about the size of a regular controller, but it is completely flat. There's no curvature or anything like that. It is pocket size. It's about the size of a small cell phone, like an iPhone SE. So you can just throw it in your pocket and or your backpack and just take it around with you. You don't have to worry about like the analog sticks getting messed up or anything like that. So that is the 8BitDO Lite controller. Again, this is only like $25. I think this is either 15 or 20. So those are incredible bargains, especially this one. This one's really cool. But that is pretty much all I have to say for all of these controllers. If you have questions about them, I'm going to make a forum thread with all of the info and all that. I really, really like these 8BitDO controllers. I think they're fantastic value. I think especially the SM30 Pro Plus, these two are, this is $50 MSRP. I know you can get them cheaper sometimes for the Xbox One controller. This one is, I think, $70 MSRP. DualShock 4s are not cheap, but this has the DualShock 4 thumbstick layout. It has a fantastic D-pad. It has very classic style buttons. They're a little bit larger. It's compatible with pretty much everything. It's got full analog R2 and L2, and it's USB Type-C, replaceable battery. What more could you ask for $50? And I guarantee you that you will enjoy playing games quite a bit more on this controller than you would on any of the controllers here. But that said, that's my opinion about it. If you disagree with me, leave a comment. If you agree with me or you want to try them out and you do try them out, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. That's about all for this video, and I will see you guys next time.